will read you this proclamation. Sure. This is for the special ceremony marking the name of the Plimpton L. Grau Amphitheater. Whereas Plimpton L. Grau has dedicated his life to the Greenville area and has demonstrated in many ways his deep and genuine love for this community, and whereas he has served the community with distinction in Veterans Affairs, Boy Scout activities, Community Concerts Association, Salvation Army, the Kiwanis, and his latest love, latest love is the one he originated, Spigot. These are just to name a few, demonstrating always his willingness to place his concern for the public good ahead of his personal interest. And whereas throughout his career, he has earned the respect of all residents, civic leaders, political leaders, and everyone from all parts of the community who are proud to call him friend. And whereas his commitment to this area is based on the motto, service to the community, it's part of our heritage. It is with much credit and honor that the amphitheater located in Riverside Park be renamed the Plimpton L. Grau Amphitheater. And now therefore, I, Robert S. Gargis, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, and on behalf of the residents of the Borough of Greenville, do hereby tender to Plimpton L. Grau this certificate of recognition to recognize the honor of having this facility named after him. The Plimpton L. Grau Amphitheater, a deserving tribute to a great man, signed this day.
As we prepared the program for today and looked for a friend of Plimp's that would come up here and say some nice things about him, we had to look long and hard. But I'm sure that we could have chosen any one of you in the audience here and any one of hundreds of others in this community. But a person who has been involved with us in this amphitheater and the preparation of this ceremony over the last couple of months, and a good friend of Plimp's for a long, long time, we've asked to come and say a few words to you, and that's Mike Pistolesi.
Flint has told me that when he was a young man, he used to take his canoe and go down the Shenango River, camp on a little island up here, and then he'd park it down at the bridge, go to work. And I find that charming. That's something I got a Rover boys go camping. But that's Flint for you. Imagine anyone doing that today. Approximately, a few months ago, a year ago, I was visiting with one of my many visits at the Grau House, and Flint was clearing out some old photographs, and he showed me some photographs of this amphitheater being built. And I was intrigued by them, and I said, Flint, I've gone by that place so many times and wondered whose idea it was. This is a beautiful installation here. And I said, was this your idea? He was very reluctant to say anything. He said, well, and he went on about a trip with his Model A Ford with some friends down in Washington, and told about how he saw the performance of the George Washington Monument on the Mall. He was quite intrigued by it. And he came home, and the rest of the story has been told many, many times about Clint urging whoever it was in charge to build this amphitheater. Of course, it would be presumptuous of me to try to go through the history of it. Most of you know it, but this, talking to Earl Miller, he spoke of the Mather Dam being built, and then finally the Sea Scouts, and then they cleared this land with debris and trees, and the WPA came in and worked at it, and it was apparently in the middle of the 30s. We're not quite sure. I'm not. Perhaps some of you folks have a better hold on the exact date. I've seen dates that don't seem right. And anyways, Flint tells us that stones were gathered around town it was an era when the people were cementing, using a lot of cement and discarding these stones. So they gathered these up, trucked them in, and used some of our quarries and built this structure. I'd like to read just a couple of sentences from the 1938 centennial edition by Dr. Roy Johnson. It was a page that included a whole page of Dr. Johnson's writing about the cultural and recreational events that went on in Greenville. And he writes, in excavating the gravel bed, it was noticed the cut was of such a nature that it could easily be transformed into an amphitheater. The result is a beautiful stone theater, the center of many community functions, including, and then he went on to tell all the various functions. At a recent concert, I believe it was July 3rd, I happened to be sitting back there. Bob Good was sitting close by, and after the concert, we just casually talked about Plimpton and his contributions, his devotions to the community, and so on. And Bob seemed pleased with the idea that the amphitheater might be dedicated to Plimpton, and to Bob's credit, just as he perseveres in other things around here, he followed through, and here we are this afternoon. Something that hasn't been mentioned is the concern that both Plimpton and May have had for the upkeep of the structure. With ice and snow during the winter, they've played havoc with the stone, and through the years, there has been a great deal of deterioration. And a few times, as I walked through the park, I would see May and Flint pulling weeds and pushing stones around, and I would ask, what are you doing? And of course, I knew what they were doing. What they were doing was simply going about the business quietly, as usual, doing the things that had to be done. And Bob, you're to be congratulated, too, for pushing through the restoration of this amphitheater. With a little prodding from Plimp, I'm sure. It looks great, doesn't it? It looks nice. We all know of the use made of this theater. Through the years, many of us have attended concerts, plays and commencements and weddings. Earl Miller tells of seeing amateur boxing. Plimp tells of his first performance here. It was a minstrel show, one of the features being a group of 10 high tumblers with Mr. Growl singing The Man on the Flying Trapeze. And, a man of many facets, basketball coach, a soloist, involved in Spigot, Kiwanis, the Salvation Army Board of Directors, co-chair with Mrs. Petticord, the huge 1976 celebration, and annual Armistice Day and the Memorial Day activities, and president of the community concerts and church activities, and on and on. There's no time to list them all. Of course, need be mentioned May. Without her, it couldn't happen. Is that right, Flint?
That's absolutely right.
It should be mentioned that perhaps the most memorable event to take place in the amphitheater was the Centennial Pageant, 1938, that was directed by Mrs. Curly Kearns. I have a copy of the Centennial program in my hand here, and in 1938 it says Greenville Centennial Pageant in commemoration of the 100 years of incorporation of the borough of Greenville, 1838-1938, presented by the people of the borough of Greenville at the Riverside Amphitheater, Greenville, Pennsylvania, August 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1938, 8 o'clock in the evening. And then, it's a rather thick book, there's the production staff. The pageant is organized and produced under the general direction of Nora Lynch Kearns. And then it goes on, there's 100 people on this page, so I won't call it the musical director, Carol Lee Kearns, electrical engine director, Robert Knight, costume director, Mary Brennan, so on and so forth. Now, may I just take a moment to read the introduction on this page. This pageant has been written in commemoration of the 100 years of incorporation of the borough of Greenville, using as a basis the trend of events during the 140 years of settlement in the community. Certain elements of the social, civic, cultural, and spiritual development have been selected for expression through the media of drama and symbolism. More than 1,000 people have taken part in the presentation of this drama. To each and every one I am indebted, and to them I express my thankful appreciation. I hope that their expression of the community spirit in this contribution of their time and talents will enrich not only their own lives, but those of their fellow citizens. And it's signed Nora Lynch Kearns. And I'm happy to say that Mrs. Kearns is with us today, and I'm going to ask her if she will please stand so we might acknowledge her presence. Mrs. Kearns? Thank you for being here. It should be okay. There are Greenville residents who remember, among other things, the building of the railroad car and stage for all to see. I simply mention this celebration as a historical event in the life of this amphitheater. It seems that all ideas and concepts begin in a person's mind. For example, Plimp Growell going to Washington and getting an idea. We in Greenville are fortunate to have had this man with his love for his community and devotion to his country, and with his constant vigilance and prodding and cajoling and sweeping and gardening and keeping us all on our toes. And we congratulate him on the eve of his 91st birthday, offer him our gratitude, and wish him and his family well in the years ahead. It is fitting and appropriate that we carve his name on this spot so that generations that follow who pass this way might pause and reflect upon what it means to serve. Plimpton Growell, we thank you.
Of course, Plimpton and all of his efforts are known not just in Greenville, but all around the area. And we're happy to have with us today two of our state representatives, State Representative Robert Williams, Robert Robbins, sorry Bob, and representing Senator Wilt, we have Alice Gerberding, and I would call first of all on Bob Robbins to come to the podium to make a presentation to Plimpton.
Plimp said he really wanted the ensemble to play in order, but they're going to do it a little bit later. With great pride and great honor, I'm here today. You know, I was trying to think what I would say or brief introductions, but I started to try to think when I first knew of Plimp. You know, having been born on Maple Avenue, which is just across the tracks from where they live, I was born and raised not far from them, and then it dawned on me, the truth is Plimp has always been in my life. As I've gone through school, got involved in the community concert, and I just thought back of the number of times, for whatever reason, Plimp Growell was in and out of my life in my 46 years, and the truth is without really knowing it, he's always been there. And I think if I was going to say what Plimp and May would mean to people like myself and many, many others in Greenville, that is, if you ever had another family or other parents, they were always kind of there, and you would think of them like that. I couldn't think of any greater honor for me if at some time down the road, with what little bit I have done, that somebody would compare me with Plimp. I think that would be the greatest honor bestowed upon anybody in this town, that if they would say, well, you know, some of the things you did reminded us of all of those things that Plimp Growell has done for the town. I think when we all look back, and I don't think any of us sitting here can't think of a time that they haven't been in and out of our lives in so many different areas. And we have to be so very thankful that Greenville, Pennsylvania ended up with them. I certainly am, because again, as I look back, Plimp and May, in so many small ways, you have also been an important part in my life, and we thank you for that. Have a citation from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the House of Representatives. Whereas Riverside Park Amphitheater in Greenville is being named in honor of Plimpton L. Grau Sr. on October 7, 1990, and whereas Mr. Grau was employed by the Bessemer and Lake Erie Railroad from 1915, when he served as a messenger boy, until his retirement as an engineer in 1968. He was instrumental in the creation of Riverside Park during the Depression years, and whereas a United States Army veteran of World War I, Mr. Grau is past commander of Barracks 2989, Veterans of World War I, and has also served in the Board of Directors of the Salvation Army. He is a member of the Greenville Kiwanis, and he has endeavored to beautify his neighborhood and safeguard the welfare of his fellow citizens as an active member of Spigot. Show pride in Greenville, our town. Now, therefore, the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania extends congratulations to Plimpton L. Grau Sr., in whose honor the Riverside Park Amphitheater is being named, expresses appreciation for his untiring civic pride, offers best wishes for his continued exemplary community service, and directs that a copy of this citation, sponsored by myself, on September 28, 1990, be transmitted to Plimpton L. Grau, 23 South Mercer Street, Greenville, Pennsylvania. Signed by myself, Robert W. O'Donnell, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and John Buback, Chief Clerk of the House of Representatives. And Plimp and May, thank God we have you.
Thank you very much. This is a really special treat for me today. Although Roy would like to have been here, he and Sonny are away for the weekend, and he asked me to come and do this in his stead. And the reason it's such a special treat is that when I came to Teal many years ago as a student, I happened to date the boy next door to the Grauls. Mr. Hamilton was my husband's grandfather, and my husband Mike lived with him. In fact, there are Hamiltons today in the audience, so some of my relatives are here. But I became acquainted with Plimp and May when I first came to Greenville, and in the many years that we returned after that, before James Hamilton died, we would always see the Grauls. And then when I came back to the area, I got to know them even better, and that's why it's such a treat for me to be able to do this today. This citation, in some ways, is similar to the one that Bob has read you, so I will simply read the closing statement, and it's a congratulatory citation from the Senate of Pennsylvania. Now, therefore, the Senate of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania extends congratulations to Plimpton Grau Sr., in whose honor the Riverside Park Amphitheater is being named. Heartily commends him for his exemplary citizenship and stewardship. Proudly notes that his actions are a fitting model for all others to emulate, and directs that a copy of this citation, sponsored by Senator Roy Wilt, be transmitted to Plimpton Grau, 23 South Mercer Street, Greenville, Pennsylvania. Congratulations.
I want to make sure and look at my program this time so I don't get out of here. We have the privilege today of having a representative for Congressman Tom Ridge with us, who also from the United States government would like to present Plimpton with a citation. And I'd like to call on Carol Weber to come forward for that.
The congressman couldn't be here today. He's in Washington. But he asked me to send his congratulations to Mr. Growell and to read his statement that he made to the House of Representatives honoring Mr. Growell, which has been made a part of the congressional record. Mr. Speaker, on Sunday, October 7, 1990, in the great city of Greenville, Pennsylvania, the community will gather to honor a most respected citizen, Mr. Plimpton L. Growell. The city of Greenville will dedicate its amphitheater in the name of Mr. Growell for his lifetime role in community service. Mr. Growell has lived a long and prosperous life. He believes in being patriotic to his nation, state, and country. Patriotism starts right in his hometown of Greenville. He has seen his northwestern Pennsylvania town grow from the horse and buggy to the car, from oil lights to electric lights, and from corner markets to supermarkets. While others may grow weary with age or take a cynical stance, neither history nor time has diminished Plimpton's pride in or love of his community. Plimpton and his wife, May, are the epitome of community service. It is this lifelong service, more than 3/4 of a century, that Plimpton will be publicly recognized for at the amphitheater dedication ceremonies on Sunday. The first performance in the newly completed amphitheater was a minstrel show. A tumbling act featuring school gymnasts performed to The Man on the Flying Trapeze, sung by none other than Plimpton L. Growell Sr. Plimpton does not see his community involvement as a special calling. He admits that once you do get involved, you strive for that feeling you get from service to others. Once again, it is my honor to extend my best wishes to a gentleman who has taken great pride in his community. Congratulations, Plimpton. You truly deserve the title of Greenville Town Founder.
We've come to the point in the program where I get to say a few words about Plimp, and I'm excited to do that. And so, ladies and gentlemen, and Plimp and May, and distinguished guests, and family and friends of Plimp, it's not often that a community comes across a man such as Plimp Growell, with such wisdom and noble character and commitment that he brings to this community. You've already heard this afternoon many of the things that this community brings to his credit, and many of the things that he's done for us and for many others. As we began planning this program for this amphitheater in the past couple of weeks, I've talked with a lot of people, and a lot of people have expressed their appreciation and concern that this was a very practical thing and a very worthwhile thing to do for Plimp, that he would finally get some of the recognition that was due him. And among almost every one of those conversations came a story of Plimp, a story of the experiences that those people had had with Plimp. And I suspect that if I talked with every one of you in the amphitheater here today, that each of you would have a story to tell as well. And as I listened to those stories, it struck me that Plimp has had a tremendous impact in the lives of many, many people in this community. That he's been the inspiration for many people, that he's been that significant other in the lives of many that have moved them on and brought them to where they are today. And I think that I can speak on my own behalf when I say that I know that he has been a tremendous inspiration in my life for many of the things that I've done, including the renovation of this amphitheater and other things as I've grown up. In my time with Plimp over the past 25 years that I've known him, I've known Plimp to be a man of community service, and I've known that as I've watched him and lived with him and heard him time after time and day after day and year after year, the three things that seem to stand out with Plimp that bring him to this community service are that he is dedicated and driven by three things. First of all, his God, his country, and his community. And you've heard this afternoon already a lot of the talk about Plim's community service and the things that he's done for his country and his community. But I'd like to talk to you for just a minute about what I see in Plim as coming from his God. And as I sat just a couple of weeks ago in Plim's house with Plim and May, talking with them about what was going to happen today, and interviewing him for the newspaper and listening to some things that he had to say, it was pretty conspicuous, the bookcase that was against the wall and all of the old books that were in it. A couple of copies, big copies of the Bible, books of stories of the Bible, poetry from the Bible, commentaries from the Bible, books that interpreted the Bible, all kinds of things that were dealt with the Bible and dealt with Plim's God. And it became obvious to me that those books had been well used and oftentimes read. And as I know Plim and have worked with him, it's obvious in his life that God plays an important part. And so as we honor Plim today, I'd like to just come back to the Bible and to read for you a couple of passages that kind of exemplify for me the reasons that Plim has done what he's done, and Plim that can tell us why, or tell you why we come to you to honor you today. And so first of all, I'd like to read from the first epistle from Peter in the 5th chapter, verses 2, 3, and 4. And that says, "Be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, serving, not because you must, but because you are willing, as God wants you to be. Not for greed for money, but eager to serve, not lording over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away." And I think that as we read that, we see that that really tells us who Plim is and why he serves the way that he does. And just a few days ago, Plim asked me why such an honor for him. He said that things like this don't happen to people until they're gone, until they've passed away. So as I was reading from the Bible the other day, I came across a passage that I think will answer that for you, Plim. And this comes from Romans, and it's in the 13th chapter, in verse 7, and it says, this is the Apostle Paul speaking to the Romans on what they should do about people that they owe to. It says, give everyone what you owe